The morning of Anna's wedding was everything she had dreamed of. The sun shone brightly through the tall windows of the grand venue, casting a warm golden light over the sparkling decorations. The air was filled with excitement, and the smell of fresh flowers lingered as guests arrived, admiring the beauty of the venue. Every detail had been carefully planned. The elegant white flowers, the soft music playing in the background, and the perfectly set tables. Everything seemed perfect for Anna and her fiancé, Mark, who had been planning their special day for months. Anna was a bundle of nerves and excitement, the usual wedding jitters hitting her in waves. She couldn't wait to marry Mark, the love of her life. He had been by her side through thick and thin, and today marked the beginning of their new life together. The ceremony was set to begin soon, and Anna was in the final stages of preparation. She was in a room with her closest friends and family members, laughing and talking as they helped her get ready. Her bridal gown, a stunning ivory dress with intricate lace and delicate pearls, sparkled as she slipped it on. The whole day had been so perfectly planned that it almost felt like a dream. Her parents were there, beaming with pride as they admired their daughter in her beautiful dress. The atmosphere was filled with love, joy, and the promise of new beginnings. But as Anna stood in front of the mirror, admiring herself one last time, something unusual happened that would change the course of her wedding day forever. A young girl, about 12 years old, entered the room. She was a little out of place, and Anna couldn't help but notice how nervous she seemed. The girl looked around the room before her eyes locked with Anna's. She stood there quietly for a moment, unsure of what to say. Anna smiled and walked toward her, gently asking if she was lost. The girl hesitated, her face pale and filled with worry. Anna could sense that something wasn't right. The girl looked around nervously, as if she were afraid someone might see her. The girl introduced herself as Maya, and she explained in a soft voice that she was here for the wedding. Anna looked at her more closely and noticed that Maya's clothes seemed worn and out of place for the occasion. It was clear that the girl wasn't a guest, and something about her seemed out of sync with the joyful atmosphere around them. Maya's eyes were wide with fear, and she quickly leaned closer to Anna, speaking in a hushed tone. "Dad locks me in the cellar," she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Anna felt her heart skip a beat. She didn't know how to respond at first, unsure if she had heard correctly. Maya's words echoed in her mind, and a wave of disbelief washed over her. Why would someone lock their child in a cellar? Before Anna could say anything, Maya continued to speak, her words tumbling out in a rush. She explained how her father had kept her locked away in the cellar for days at a time when she misbehaved. Maya's voice quivered with fear, and she glanced over her shoulder as if expecting someone to come looking for her. Anna's mind raced as she tried to make sense of what she was hearing. Her first instinct was to assure Maya that everything would be okay, but the reality of the situation felt overwhelming. Anna felt an immediate need to help. This was her wedding day, a day that was supposed to be filled with happiness and celebration. But in that moment, it was clear that something far more serious was happening. Anna took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. She gently placed her hand on Maya's shoulder, trying to comfort the young girl, and promised her that she would make sure she was safe. It wasn't the wedding she had imagined, but she couldn't ignore the pain in Maya's eyes. Anna knew that she had to do something, and that was when the next decision would come. What to do next? Anna's mind was racing as she listened to Maya's story. The words, "Dad locks me in the cellar," echoed in her thoughts, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The room, once filled with laughter and the buzz of excitement, suddenly felt cold and silent. She looked down at Maya, who was still standing nervously, her eyes wide with fear. Maya's hands were clenched tightly at her sides, as though she were afraid to move. It was clear that the girl had been through something terrible, and Anna couldn't just ignore it. Anna bent down slightly to Maya's level, trying to look comforting, even though her heart was pounding in her chest. She gently asked Maya to explain more, her voice soft but steady. Maya hesitated for a moment before speaking again, her voice barely above a whisper. She explained that her father was a strict man, someone who ruled his home with an iron fist. If she did anything wrong or didn't meet his expectations, he would lock her away in the cellar for days. It sounded like something out of a nightmare, but the fear in Maya's eyes told Anna that this was her reality. Maya seemed to be doing everything she could to avoid being seen by anyone else at the wedding. She kept glancing nervously around the room, her body tense, as though she were waiting for someone to burst in and drag her away. Anna could feel the weight of the moment bearing down on her, but she knew she couldn't let the situation go any further without doing something about it. She had to act quickly. But what could she do? This was her wedding day. And yet, helping this young girl became the most important thing. Anna stood up, taking a deep breath, as she thought about her next move. She glanced at the door to make sure no one else had entered the room. The wedding was supposed to be starting soon, but Anna knew that this was more urgent. She turned back to Maya and asked her if she knew how to get away from her father, if there was somewhere safe she could go. Maya nodded, her face filled with a mixture of fear and relief that someone was finally listening to her. She explained that she had managed to sneak away while her father was distracted by the preparations for the wedding, but she wasn't sure how much longer she could stay hidden. Anna's mind was already turning. She knew she couldn't let Maya go back to that man, not after hearing what she had just said. But what could she do? Anna thought of her family and friends waiting for her outside, her mind briefly flickering to the wedding that was about to happen. But those thoughts quickly faded. The priority now was getting Maya to safety. Anna made a decision in that moment. She would protect this girl, no matter what it took. She gently took Maya's hand and led her to a quiet corner of the room. Anna's heart was racing, but her voice was calm as she told Maya she was going to call for help. She assured the young girl that she wouldn't be alone, and that she would make sure no one would hurt her again. Maya nodded, still trembling, but a small glimmer of hope seemed to appear in her eyes. Anna reached for her phone, trying to steady her hands as she dialed the emergency number. She couldn't believe this was happening on her wedding day, but she knew she had made the right choice. There was no going back now. As Anna pressed the call button on her phone, her heart pounded in her chest. It felt like the world had come to a sudden halt. The wedding, the ceremony, the joy, everything that had filled the room with energy only moments before now seemed distant and unimportant. The only thing that mattered in that moment was Maya, the scared young girl standing by her side, her eyes wide with worry. When the emergency dispatcher answered, Anna's voice was shaky, but she quickly explained the situation, describing Maya's fears and what she had just confessed. The dispatcher assured her that help would be on the way, and that the police would arrive as quickly as possible. Anna hung up the phone and turned back to Maya, who was still standing there, looking around nervously. Maya's fear was palpable. It was clear that she had been living under constant threat and had never known the comfort of safety. Her small hands fidgeted, twisting the fabric of her dress as she anxiously waited for Anna to lead her to some sort of safety. It was heartbreaking to see how small and fragile she looked, yet Anna could also see a spark of hope in her eyes. For the first time in what seemed like forever, Maya had someone she could trust. "Everything will be okay," Anna said softly, trying to sound more confident than she felt. She didn't know exactly how everything would turn out, but she knew that she couldn't let this girl go back to the man who had hurt her. Anna gently placed her hand on Maya's shoulder, offering her some comfort, though she knew it wasn't enough to erase the fear that still lingered in the girl's eyes. Maya nodded, though her uncertainty was clear. "I don't want to go back," she whispered. Her voice cracked as she spoke, and Anna could hear the pain and sadness behind those words. Maya had been through so much already, and the thought of returning to the place where she had been locked away was something she couldn't bear. Anna gave her a reassuring smile, trying to offer a sense of calm in the middle of all the chaos. She knew that calling the police was the right thing to do, but the waiting was the hardest part. Every second felt like an eternity as Anna tried to keep Maya distracted. She softly talked to her, asking her about her favorite things, anything to take her mind off the fear that had clearly been consuming her for so long. Maya slowly started to respond, her tense body beginning to relax, just a little. In that moment, Anna realized that this was no longer just a small act of kindness. It was a life-changing decision. She was responsible for this young girl now, and Anna wasn't about to back down. The wedding was no longer a focus. Maya's safety was all that mattered. As the minutes passed, Anna felt a sense of urgency building inside her. The longer they waited, the more anxious she became, wondering if Maya's father was already looking for her or if the police would arrive in time. As the wedding guests remained unaware of what was unfolding in the background, Anna and Maya waited, the weight of the situation growing heavier with each passing second. Anna continued to reassure Maya, but in her mind, she couldn't help but wonder what kind of life Maya had been living and how she had managed to keep this all a secret. The fact that the girl had been brave enough to come forward was a testament to her strength, and Anna felt a deep sense of admiration for her. Anna glanced out the window, hoping to see the flashing lights of the police cars in the distance. She couldn't wait any longer. She needed help for Maya, and she needed it now. As the minutes ticked by, Anna's anxiety grew. She paced the room, glancing at Maya every few seconds. The young girl was still standing near the corner, her eyes darting around the room, her small hands twisting the fabric of her dress. Anna could see the fear in her face, and it broke her heart. This was supposed to be one of the happiest days of Anna's life, but instead, her attention was completely on Maya, trying to comfort her and make sure she felt safe. The wedding guests outside were completely unaware of what was unfolding inside the room. Laughter and chatter could be heard faintly through the walls, but Anna was no longer focused on them. All she could think about was Maya's situation. Her heart went out to the girl, who had been so brave to speak up about what was happening to her. It wasn't easy for anyone to share something so personal, and Anna admired Maya's courage. The thought of what had happened to her, being locked away and isolated, filled Anna with both anger and sadness. Her phone vibrated in her hand, pulling her from her thoughts. The police had called back, confirming that they were on their way. The sound of sirens in the distance seemed to be getting louder, and Anna could feel their tension easing just a little. She told Maya, "Help is coming. The police will be here any moment, and everything will be okay." Maya nodded but remained quiet, her face still drawn with worry. Anna could sense that Maya was still unsure about what would happen next. She had no way of knowing how this situation would unfold, and the uncertainty was weighing on both of them. Anna could feel the pressure mounting with every passing second. Maya needed her to stay strong, but Anna also needed to remain calm, to show the girl that she wasn't alone anymore. The thought of the wedding ceremony, which was supposed to begin any minute, seemed so distant now. Anna had planned every detail of the day, imagining how it would go, how she would walk down the aisle, how Mark would look at her, how their lives would be forever changed after this moment. But none of that mattered anymore. She couldn't focus on the celebration, not when there was a child in front of her who needed help. Anna looked at Maya again, offering her a gentle smile, trying to reassure her, "It's going to be okay. The police are trained to handle situations like this. You're safe now." Maya looked up at Anna, her eyes filled with both hope and fear. It was clear that she was still processing everything, but Anna could see a flicker of trust in her eyes, a glimmer that she hadn't had before. Maya was starting to believe that things were going to change. Suddenly, the sound of sirens grew louder, and Anna felt her heart skip a beat. She walked to the window, peering outside to see flashing blue and red lights coming down the street. The police had arrived. Anna turned to Maya, who was standing a little straighter now, her posture showing a tiny bit more confidence than before. "Do you want to talk to the officers?" Anna asked gently. Maya shook her head, but Anna could tell she was relieved to know the police were there. "I'll be with you every step of the way," Anna promised, feeling a renewed sense of determination. She would make sure Maya was safe. no matter what. Anna took a deep breath as she opened the door, leading Maya toward the front of the venue, where the officers were waiting. The relief she felt seeing the police in action was indescribable. The situation wasn't over, but for the first time since Maya had confided in her, Anna felt like they were moving toward a solution. It wasn't going to be easy, but Anna knew one thing for sure. She wasn't going to let this young girl go back to the life she had left behind. The moment Anna opened the door and led Maya toward the entrance, she could feel her heart racing in her chest. As they approached the front of the venue, the sight of the police officers waiting outside brought a wave of relief. Maya seemed to relax just a little as the flashing lights of the police cars illuminated the surroundings. The officers stood in a small group, speaking quietly among themselves. But when they saw Anna and Maya, their attention shifted immediately. Anna took a deep breath as she walked toward them, leading Maya with a gentle hand on her shoulder. Maya's face was still filled with uncertainty, but there was something new in her eyes, a glimmer of hope. It was as though the weight of the fear that had gripped her all day had started to lift, even if just a little. One of the officers, a woman with kind eyes and a calm demeanor, stepped forward and introduced herself as Officer Davis. She asked Maya if she felt comfortable speaking to her, and Maya hesitated for a moment. It was clear that Maya wasn't used to talking to strangers, especially about something so personal. But with Anna by her side, Maya nodded, and Anna felt a surge of pride for the young girl. It took a lot of courage to speak up, and Anna was in awe of how brave Maya was being. Officer Davis knelt down to Maya's level, her voice soft and reassuring as she gently asked Maya to tell her everything. Maya looked up at Anna for reassurance, and Anna smiled back, giving her a nod of encouragement. "It's okay, Maya," Anna said softly. "You're doing the right thing. They're here to help you." Maya took a deep breath and began speaking, her voice trembling slightly as she recalled the details of what had been happening at home. She explained how her father would lock her in the cellar whenever she was deemed to have misbehaved. She described the darkness and the cold that she had been forced to endure, the loneliness that seemed to stretch on forever. Maya's words were painful to listen to, but Anna remained strong for her, keeping her attention focused on the girl as she spoke. The officers listened attentively, taking notes and asking questions to get a clear picture of what had been going on. The more Maya spoke, the more the officers' faces grew serious. Officer Davis glanced at Anna a few times, as though silently asking if everything Maya was saying was true. Anna nodded each time, her heart heavy with the weight of what this young girl had endured. After Maya finished speaking, Officer Davis reassured her that she had done the right thing by coming forward. She explained that they would take care of everything from here and make sure Maya was safe. The officers were already coordinating with local authorities to get to Maya's father's house and take action. It was clear that the situation had escalated quickly, and the police were taking it very seriously. Anna stepped back, allowing the officers to handle the investigation, but she never let go of Maya's hand. She didn't want the young girl to feel alone again. Maya's eyes were now filled with a mix of emotions: fear, relief, and confusion. But most of all, Anna could see something else in her gaze, a flicker of trust, a belief that things were going to change. As the officers prepared to leave, Anna felt a sense of closure starting to settle in. The overwhelming chaos of the day hadn't gone as she had expected, but she knew that helping Maya was the right thing to do. The wedding could wait. This young girl's future could not. Before the officers left, Officer Davis gave Maya a reassuring smile and promised to stay in touch with her, making sure she was well taken care of. Anna nodded, feeling a small sense of peace. Maya was safe now, and she would never have to go back to that cellar. Anna took one last look at Maya, knowing this was only the beginning of a long journey to healing. But it was a start. As the officers drove away, Anna and Maya stood together in the quiet of the now empty parking lot. Maya looked up at Anna, her voice barely a whisper. "Thank you," she said, the words heavy with gratitude. Anna squeezed her hand and smiled, knowing that this moment, This decision to step up and protect Maya had been more important than anything that had ever happened before. The air was thick with tension as the police left the wedding venue, heading straight for Maya's father's house. Anna stood in the parking lot, her heart still racing from everything that had happened. The wedding that had been so carefully planned felt like a distant memory now. Everything had shifted, and the excitement of the day had turned into a sense of responsibility that Anna wasn't sure she was prepared for. She had never expected her wedding day to unfold in such a way, but in that moment, it felt like a far more important event than anything she had ever imagined. Maya stood quietly beside her, her small frame still trembling slightly. But there was a change in her demeanor. She was no longer the frightened girl who had walked into the venue with fear in her eyes. There was a faint spark of relief, though it was mixed with a quiet sadness. The pain and confusion she had carried with her for so long hadn't just disappeared, but there was something lighter in the way she carried herself. For the first time, she wasn't alone. Anna kept her hand on Maya's shoulder, offering her a sense of calm. The girl had been through so much, and Anna knew that even though the police were handling things now, Maya would need someone to guide her through this confusing and emotional time. She knew she couldn't do it all herself, but she had made a promise to the young girl, and she intended to keep it. Maya spoke softly, her voice barely audible as she whispered, "Will they be okay? Will I be safe now?" Anna turned to her, her expression filled with reassurance. "You're going to be fine," she said gently, trying to offer the comfort Maya so desperately needed. "The police are going to take care of everything, and you don't have to go back there. You're safe now." Maya nodded, but Anna could see that she still had doubts. She didn't know what would happen next, what kind of life she would have now that things had changed. Her world had been turned upside down in a matter of hours. For so long, Maya had lived in a world of silence and fear, but now she was facing a future full of unknowns. Anna wished she could offer her more certainty, but the truth was that everything was still up in the air. Anna glanced at the wedding venue in the distance. Her family and friends were still gathered inside, completely unaware of the drama unfolding just outside the doors. She had left them all behind in the midst of her vows, and she knew they would be wondering what had happened. But she couldn't bring herself to go back to them. Not yet. Not when Maya was still processing everything that had happened. The sound of the police sirens still echoed in the distance as the officers made their way to Maya's father's home. Anna's stomach tightened as she thought about what would happen when they arrived. Would Maya's father be angry? Would he resist the police? Anna didn't know, but she trusted that the officers would handle the situation with care. They had already assured her that they would act quickly and decisively. As the time passed, Anna kept her focus on Maya. She spoke to her softly, keeping her company and trying to make the young girl feel as comfortable as possible. Maya seemed to appreciate the kindness, though her mind was still elsewhere, processing everything she had just shared. Anna's heart went out to her, but she couldn't imagine how much more overwhelming it must be for Maya. The girl had been carrying so much for so long. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the police returned to the venue, their expressions grim but determined. They approached Anna and Maya, and Officer Davis spoke up. "We've handled the situation. Your father has been arrested and taken into custody," she said, her voice steady but filled with compassion. "Maya is no longer in danger." Anna let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Maya's face softened, and for the first time, a small smile played at the corners of her lips. Anna's heart swelled with relief, but she knew this was just the beginning. There would still be a long road ahead for Maya, but she was no longer alone. Anna bent down to Maya's level and gave her a reassuring hug. "You're safe now," she whispered again. Maya clung to her for a moment, still unsure of the future, but slowly she seemed to relax. Anna knew that Maya's journey was just beginning, but the first step had been taken. And for now, that was enough. The police officers made their way to the parking lot, and Anna knew it was time to go back to her wedding. She felt conflicted, But deep down, she knew she had done the right thing. The wedding could wait. Maya's safety couldn't. The wedding was still happening inside, though Anna felt like it was a different world entirely. She had been part of the celebrations only hours earlier, but now, everything had changed. The laughter, the music, the light-hearted conversations, none of it seemed to matter anymore. Maya's safety was the most important thing, and Anna had done what she could to make sure she was no longer in danger. As they stood in the quiet parking lot, Maya's demeanor had shifted. She was no longer the frightened girl who had walked in with fear and anxiety. Instead, there was a subtle sense of calm that seemed to settle over her. She had been heard. She had spoken up, and now she was safe. There was still uncertainty in her eyes, but that first moment of relief was visible, even if it was small. Anna smiled gently at Maya. "You're doing really well," she said softly, her voice full of warmth. "I'm proud of you." Maya nodded, her small lips curving up just slightly. For the first time since Anna had met her, Maya seemed a little less burdened. The weight that had been on her shoulders for so long hadn't disappeared, but at least now, there was hope for a better future. The sound of footsteps approaching interrupted the silence. Officer Davis and another officer approached the two of them. Anna stood up, her eyes scanning them for any indication of what had happened. Maya looked up at the officers, her body still tense, though she now seemed a little less worried. Officer Davis spoke first, her voice gentle but firm. "We've taken care of the situation. Your father has been arrested and is in police custody. You don't have to go back there." Maya's eyes widened as she processed the information. The relief on her face was clear. She didn't have to go back to the place that had kept her locked away in fear. She didn't have to face the man who had treated her like she was invisible. Anna watched Maya closely, noticing how her shoulders seemed to relax. It was a small change, but it was significant. For so long, Maya had been trapped in a world of fear, not knowing who to turn to. But now she had someone who cared. She had someone who believed in her, someone who had taken action to protect her. The officers assured Anna and Maya that they would make sure Maya was taken to a safe place and given the support she needed. They explained that social services would be in touch to arrange for her care and that Maya wouldn't have to worry about her father anymore. Maya's life was about to change in ways she hadn't even imagined, and though the road ahead would be difficult, she was no longer alone in her struggle. After speaking with the officers for a few more minutes, Anna walked Maya to the nearby car. It was strange to feel the weight of the day lifting, but in some ways, Anna also felt a sense of closure. The wedding, her wedding, had been interrupted, but she knew it was worth it. As they drove away, Anna kept looking over at Maya, who was staring out the window. She didn't know what the girl was thinking, but Anna hoped she was beginning to understand that there was a future ahead of her that didn't involve fear or being locked away. Maya's journey would be long, but she had taken the first step toward a better life. Back at the venue, the wedding guests had no idea what had happened. The ceremony had carried on without Anna, but that was okay. Anna had made a choice, and in the end, it felt like the right one. She would never forget how Maya's voice had shaken as she spoke, how the young girl had opened up and trusted her with the truth. As Anna drove through the quiet streets with Maya beside her, she knew that this was just the beginning of the young girl's healing. It would take time, but Anna would be there for her every step of the way. And for now, that was all that mattered. The days following that eventful wedding day felt like a blur. Anna couldn't stop thinking about Maya and what had happened. It was hard to believe how quickly everything had shifted. What had started as the happiest day of her life had turned into a turning point in someone else's. But despite the chaos, Anna knew that she had made the right choice. Helping Maya had become more important than any wedding or celebration. Maya's life was just beginning to change. The authorities had moved quickly to ensure that she was safe, and Anna had kept in close contact with the social workers who were now overseeing her care. They had found Maya a temporary place to stay, a safe environment where she could begin to heal and feel secure. Anna was glad that Maya wasn't alone anymore, but she knew that the road ahead would still be difficult for the young girl. It had been a few weeks since that day, and Anna visited Maya often, wanting to be sure that she was adjusting to her new life. When they first met, Maya had been withdrawn, not quite sure who to trust or where to turn. But slowly, Anna had watched as Maya started to open up more, her shoulders less tense, her eyes brighter with each passing day. The first time Anna saw Maya smile was a moment she would never forget. It wasn't a big, cheerful smile, but it was a smile that showed hope, a hint of the girl who had been buried under so much fear for so long. They sat together on the porch of the safe house where Maya was staying, watching the sunset. Maya had never experienced something so peaceful in her life. The quiet of the evening, the stillness around them. It was a far cry from the chaos she had come from. "I never thought I could feel like this again," Maya said, her voice soft, but filled with something new. Hope. "I thought everything was always going to be scary." She paused, looking at Anna. "But now, I'm not scared anymore." Anna's heart swelled as she heard those words. Maya's bravery had gotten her through so much, but this newfound sense of peace was something that had been earned over time. Maya had started to realize that the fear she had lived with for so long didn't have to define her. There was a world beyond the walls of the cellar, beyond the control her father had tried to impose on her. Maya was free. As the weeks turned into months, Anna kept supporting Maya, helping her navigate through the emotions and challenges that came with healing from such a traumatic experience. They spent time together, talking, laughing, and slowly building a bond that went beyond simply being the person who had saved her. Anna had become a mentor and a friend, someone Maya could trust, and that meant the world to both of them. Maya started to find her voice in ways that Anna hadn't seen before. She began to speak out more in the therapy sessions, gaining confidence in herself and her future. She started school again, taking small steps to build a life outside of the fear that had once defined her. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of doubt and sadness, but Maya was no longer trapped in a world of isolation. She had found freedom, and with that freedom, she was beginning to rebuild her life. One afternoon, as Anna and Maya sat together in the park, Anna couldn't help but think back to that wedding day. The moment Maya had shared her truth, the fear in her eyes, and the determination Anna had felt to help her. It had been a day that had changed everything for both of them. Anna had never expected her wedding day to become a story of rescue and healing, but in the end, it was one of the most meaningful days of her life. Maya looked up at Anna, her eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady and clear. "You changed everything for me. You gave me a chance." Anna smiled, her heart full of warmth. She hadn't just helped Maya. She had witnessed the beginning of a new life, a life that was full of possibilities. Anna knew that there would still be challenges ahead, but she also knew that Maya was no longer alone, and that was the most important thing of all. As they walked through the park, side by side, Anna felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Maya was finally free, and Anna had helped her get there. It had been an unexpected journey, but it was one that had shaped both their lives in ways they would never forget. And as Maya took her first steps into her new life, Anna was ready to stand by her, supporting her every step of the way.